Hello, my name is Kiriath and it is 1,000,000 degrees, and so we're going to try and make this quick, but I always say that, it never is. So today we are going to talk about a rumour that was sent to me by quite a few people actually. Originated, I believe, on Bolter and Chainsword, and as I say, a few people have sent it, and it's on Fate212 as well. And it is the rumour that there are going to be Primaris Bikers arriving sometime this year. And this is one of those cases whereby yeah, probably. It's one of those things where I looked at it and went, yeah, that's probably true. That is probably true. I wouldn't say it's definitely true, because I'm not some sort of future seer, but it seems sensible, it seems realistic, and it would fall in line with something that I'm expecting to happen, which is the slow replacement of the standard Space Marine range with Primaris equivalents, which I've mentioned that before. I've talked about that before, the possibility of that happening, and I know that there's a considerable number of people who are like, no, fuck no, I'm not interested in that, don't do it. I remain convinced that standard Space Marines, that range has a very limited lifespan at this point. The Primaris stuff has been introduced and has, whether you like it or not, been pretty popular. And they are now the right size. They are now kind of what you would expect Space Marines to be in terms of height and build and slightly goofy proportions. And frankly, they have had quite a lot of releases, let's be honest. Not quite enough releases though to put them on par with standard Space Marines in terms of variety. And something like Primaris Bikers would absolutely start to fill that gap. The thing is, I don't think it's going to stop there. I think Primaris Bikers is incredibly likely. And actually, just quickly, I don't think they're going to be just standard bikes either. I'd be very surprised if they were standard bikes. Primaris already have, superior technology in the form of the repulsor, and I don't know if I would expect jet bikes, because I feel that might intrude a little on the custodies. But I would not be surprised if we saw a kind of a middle ground between the two-wheeled variants and the actual jet bike variants, in that they are bikes equipped with the same technology that the repulsor uses. So it's more of a hover bike than an actual full-on jet bike. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw that at all. It would fit with the way Primaris are getting, that better tech, that more up-to-date, or even experimental, I suppose, technology. Because, Belisarius is cool as a madman and does whatever the hell he likes. Which is okay, but, yeah, that just goes back to that other video where we talk about how he seems to be a delivery method for change, which I would prefer something a little more interesting than that. But, yeah, Primaris bikes, not really something that I can absolutely declare, no, it's never going to happen, because it would fit with what I think they're going to do with Primaris overall, and it would fill a hole in the Primaris army as it currently stands. To be honest, I would expect over the next few years at least to see Primaris units essentially slowly overtake everything that the standard Space Marine has, like the standard Space Marine range anyway. There's been talks about the fact that it's only got one tank and how that should increase as well. I would expect eventually that we will see some form of transport that is not also a mobile gun platform, which, let's face it, is what the repulsor is. I would not be surprised if we saw the bikers. I would not be surprised if we saw fully power armoured close combat variants of either Reavers or Intercessors with a different name. We have things like the Aggressors and the Inceptors. Both of those are, well, the Inceptors are not exactly close combat oriented, are they? Aggressors have more of the middle ground, I feel, that Terminators occupy, but I also wouldn't be surprised if we saw dedicated close combat varieties of Primaris in some respect, whether they be, more heavily armoured in the form of like Terminator equivalents, because I don't really think Aggressors are exactly Terminator equivalents. Similar but not the same, if that makes sense. With an extra tank, with bikers, with perhaps some sort of actual jump pack unit that is closer to Assault Marines, the Primaris would start to essentially fill out the slots that standard Space Marines already occupy. given the popularity of them, given how well they've done, given how just how the reception has been good. This is the thing. It's very easy, especially if you spend a lot of time online, as we do. It's kind of easy to look at a certain number of people and say, okay, well, all of these people really hate Primaris. Clearly, this was a mistake by Games Workshop. Generally speaking, that's not reflect how things actually go a lot of the time. It's something that I think carries over a little bit from like when I used to do a lot of like video game coverage and stuff. There was a trend that always made me laugh every single time. Whenever a new Call of Duty or a new like WWFE, whatever that's called anymore, game came out, whenever there was a new FIFA or whatever, there would always be a loud, small group of people going, this looks terrible, it's going to flop, no one's going to buy this. And yet the vast majority of the public went, oh, a new shiny thing, and bought it anyway. I feel like that is very much the case in this hobby as well. For all that I see a lot of people complaining about Stormcast are undeniably incredibly popular. For all that I've seen people complain about the way Death Guard were done, like the kind of monopose models, the more sort of cartoonish approach to them. There are still, I don't know how many posts of people posting their Death Guard however long after Dark Imperium came out. I mean, what are we like a year in or something to 8th at this point, or a bit longer? Primaris is exactly the same. It's all very well saying, oh, well, they totally messed this up, it doesn't work in the lore and no one likes them. That's not how that works. Unfortunately, people do like them, and I'd be very interested, not that it would ever happen, of course, but I'd be very interested to see sales data for standard Space Marines, for that range as a whole, and for Primaris, now that Primaris are here. Standard Space Marines have always been in a kind of weird position whereby they are the poster boys for the hobby, but they are also not actually representative of what they are on the tabletop. They don't quite look the way they should. It's something that's bugged me for a long time and has bugged quite a few other people as well, but nothing was ever done about it. This is what Games Workshop has done about it. They've revamped that range without getting rid of the old range. I would be genuinely surprised if we did not see not just Primaris Bikers this year, but over the course of the next year, 2, maybe 5 if they're really playing it out, if we didn't see Primaris units that could be taken in place of standard Space Marine units that fulfill similar roles, and if we didn't start seeing standard Space Marine stuff go on to things like Last Chance to Buy. Just because that is where the focus is now. Undeniably, the focus is on Primaris. I would be incredibly surprised, like really surprised, if we saw a new standard Space Marine unit released. Just in general. I'm not saying like this year or next year, I just mean in general. I think that line is coming to the end of its existence at this point. So stuff like this, I think we're going to see more of it. I think we're going to see more rumours about Primaris stuff coming in, and I think for the most part it will all be at least feasible, and even if it's not accurate for the timescale, it will probably end up being accurate in the end, because it might be that, okay, we don't see bikers this year, but if we don't see them this year, we'll probably see them next year. I think it's an inevitability at this point. Now, whether you like that or not is a completely different matter. That's a different video. But this kind of thing, it makes complete sense to me, and I'm pretty sure this is the way it's going to go as a whole, not just for this particular unit, but for a lot of the stuff that standard Space Marines have. I think we're going to see Primaris stuff encroaching on that territory with an increasing frequency. In a way, I don't like it, and in a way I do. I don't like it because the standard Space Marine range is very well fleshed out. There's so many options, and it's such a good source of inspiration for creating themed armies. On the other hand, I do like the way Primaris look, and I do like the gear that they have, and I do want to see Games Workshop making new things. So it's a bit of a 50-50 for me personally. But yeah, that is very, very rambly, but there you go. What do you reckon? Do you think Primaris stuff is going to slowly just encompass all of the Space Marine range? Do you think we're going to see replacements for every standard Space Marine unit, or do you think there is hope for that line yet? I'd be interested in what you think with this, because it's also going to be quite a divisive subject, I suspect. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comments down below. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching. Feel free to click videos, Patreon, subscribe, all of that shit. Click it if you like, don't click it if you don't want to, and I will see you for the next one. Toodaloo.